cannot have industry. Without industry, we cannot have capital investment. And without industry and capital investment, we don't have employment potential. And without that, we cannot eradicate the poverty. So first of all, we need to develop water, power, transport, and communication. These are the important four pillars for Indian industry. But at the same time, what I feel that equally we need to concentrate on agriculture, rural, and tribal area, the forest area. Because 124 aspirant districts, this is a big challenge for the country. Because these districts are socially, economically, educationally backward. So this is the time for the country that we need to take the industry up to the backward area to create industrial clusters, create irrigation in agriculture, just like river connectivity, hydropower project, tourism. We need to develop particularly in tribal area, forest area, and by which we need to create more employment potential. And the growth rate in agriculture, tribal and rural is very negligible as compared with the industrial and urban area. And we need to make some increased growth rate in the agriculture, rural and tribal by developing tourism, by developing agriculture, then by developing biofuel, alternative fuels in the agriculture and rural area. And after that, it can be more easy for us to make Indian economy number one economy in the world.
Right. So inclusive growth, making sure that growth reaches every nook and corner of the country, Minister Gadkari. Minister Gadkari has also at every forum speaking about reducing the cost of logistics in the country. Recently, sir, you've been speaking about a single logistics policy as well. In your view, are we doing enough to ensure seamless connectivity between India's road freight system and the rail freight system as well? What more can be done? You've been speaking about the need to reduce the logistics cost for the industry from 14% to 8%. What can be done?
Actually, our target is to reduce the logistic cost up to 10% before end of 24. We are making 27 green express highways. It is totally new alignment. Just from Delhi to Mumbai presently it is taking 48 hours. Then for truck it will be for 20 or 22 hours. And for car it will be 12 hours. Up to the end of December, 80 to 90% of the road work we will complete. It's presently it is 70% completed. From Delhi to Dehradun in 2 hours, Delhi to Haridwar in 2 hours, Delhi to Jaipur in 2 hours, Delhi to Chandigarh in 2.5 hours, Delhi to Amritsar 4 hours, Delhi to Katra 6 hours, Delhi to Srinagar 8 hours, and Chennai to Bangalore 2 hours. And we are making the road from Surat to, it is connecting north and south. From Surat, you don't need to go to Mumbai and Pune. You can go from Surat to Nasik, Nasik to Ahmedabad, Ahmednagar, Ahmednagar to Solapur, and by Solapur, Kurnool, you can go to Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, anywhere in the South India. So there will be connectivity from south to north. So the way in which we are planning for making Green Express Highway, I am confident that we will reduce the cost. But at the same time, we need to change fuel. What my feeling is, just 8 days before, I launched one truck on LNG. And the cost of diesel, suppose for 100 rupees, the LNG cost is 40 to 50 rupees. So 40 ton of truck on LNG, it is to be a future for the country. At the same time, electric truck is now ready. And we want to make electric highway. Our plan is to make e-highway from Delhi to Jaipur. So we can use electric bus, electric truck, so that can reduce the cost because the fossil fuel cost is very big and at the same time pollution is a big problem. Right. So the ethics, economy, ecology and environment, these are the three important things. Right. And regarding ecology and environment, we need to change our fuel. I am very much against the fuel, fossil fuel particularly, and I am confident that in the next 4 or 5 years, we'll have maximum electric vehicles, vehicles on flex engine. I am going to launch one car of Toyota is this month at 28 in Delhi. That is on flex engine, just like that Camry. We can use 100% bioethanol, and they will generate 40% electricity. So there will be ethanol, methanol, biodiesel, bio-LNG, CNG, and then green hydrogen is the fuel for the future. Just I saw 10 days before in Germany, the 1,000 kilometer train travel by using green hydrogen. So this is the future. Now I have got a green hydrogen car. So it's not a big task now. So by changing the fuel, we can reduce the cost on the fuel. At the same time, making the access control highway, we will reduce the time. And that is the reason that before end of 24, present logistic cost, which is 14 to 16%, we will reduce up to 10%. That is the target we have.
Right. Minister Gadkari, you have been very passionate about electric vehicles, alternate fuels, bioethanol. You have been speaking about it at various forums, various automotive industry forums over the years. Very strong growth when it comes to electric two-wheelers, electric three-wheelers. Possibly in the next few years, we will see a very strong transition to electric
Actually, no,
three-wheelers.
electric four-wheeler. They have waiting list. Tata has, people are coming to me that give me the letter that I will get the car first.
Yes, Tatas are looking at making 50,000
Yes.
electric cars this year.
Now, actually today, the electric vehicle demand is increased by 500%. Even electric two-wheeler, we have 250 small startup making good electric scooters. So I feel that in due course of time, within a year, you will see the difference, and there will be a lot of e-vehicle. Now, no one want to purchase petrol or diesel car, because I have got electric car in my house in Nagpur. So by spending 25 to 30,000 rupees on petrol car, and electric car, it is only 2,000 rupees, and no pollution.
Sometimes even 600 for a scooter, sir.
Yes. And now the most important thing is the battery chemistry is also changing. The lithium ion battery, then with sodium ion, zinc ion, the aluminum ion, and just our Faridabad Research Laboratory of Indian Oil, they invented the aluminum air technology. And the startup, the research scholars, the scientists, ISRO, all ARAI, they are all working in the direction, even the private companies also, that due course of time we will get the alternative solution for lithium ion battery that will reduce the cost. And electric vehicle cost will be less than petrol and diesel vehicle. The day will come within 1 year or 2 years, 100% I am expecting that day that the cost will be reduced.
You know, but what would be needed, sir, going ahead to make sure that the infrastructure is in place for a full-fledged EV revolution? Yes, we need more electric vehicles, more alternate fuel vehicles. Our oil import bill is something that weighs us down every year. A lot of commercial vehicle manufacturers, they tell us that these vehicles will need bigger batteries. And when you run these vehicles more, the batteries will disintegrate faster. You will need battery recycling plants, battery disposal plants.
Sir, I will tell you one thing. From last 2 years, in every conference, I am taking all these questions. And the people were asking me, if the electric car fail, if there is no facility to charging, then what will happen? What will happen to that car? What will happen to that scooter? Right. These are the questions. Everywhere the problems are there, and everywhere answers are there. Right. I always tell to the people that there are some people who convert problems into opportunities, and there are some people who want to convert opportunities into the problems. So I don't feel any problem. Everywhere, if the problem is there, the solution is there. And these are all competent people who are here. And they have expertise to find out the solution on every problem. So I don't feel any problem.
All right, good to hear
Actually,
that,
people, there will be, now there is a problem. Now in electric bus, the transport minister from Himachal was asking me, the charging system from one company is different and other company is different. So there is a problem. So now I given my officers this task, that you should find out the solution that there will be a one charging system belongs to all buses. Otherwise, for every company, they have to make new charging system. There are problems, but it's not a big thing. We will resolve that.
Right. Minister Gadkari, you've given us a lot to think about. I'm going to open this up to our panelists now. Mr. Nageshwaran, if I can ask you first. We have been hearing the minister, and we also heard the finance minister a short while back, that the government has done a lot. It has been receptive to the industry. They are very optimistic and confident that India will continue with 7% growth on an annual basis. How do you see the global headwinds affecting India, and what are some of the reforms that you feel that India needs to drive this level of growth through the next 7 to 8 years?
Thank you. So, Honorable Minister painted a very positive and substantive picture of where the growth is going to come from in terms of water, power, transportation, and communications. I too share the optimism on the growth prospects for the remainder of the decade and beyond, for the simple reason that we paid our dues on economic growth last decade, because the banking system and the corporate sector were both repairing their balance sheets. That repair work is done. So both the banking system is willing to lend and the corporate sector is waiting to borrow and invest. It is just being held back by the temporary uncertainties because of the war and the pandemic. So investment spending, which we had experienced back in 2006 to 12, is going to come back. That will be one major driver. I'm taking 6% as the very easily attainable growth rate, and I'm adding 0.5% coming from the capex boom. And another 0.5% will come from the fact that the digital public infrastructure which we have created, and we haven't fully understood the impact it is having on formalization, on access to finance, and therefore its positive contribution to economic growth will add another 0.5%. And if in some years we have the global cycle also operating in our favor, then export growth will give us an additional icing on the cake, which can take it to 7.5% or 8%. So that's why while the international agencies are showing our trend growth at 6%, I feel that the trend growth will easily be 7% per annum for the remainder of this decade and beyond.
Right. Mr. Narendran, if I would get you in, speaking about the manufacturing sector, how can we ensure a larger share of manufacturing in our GDP when it comes to greater manufacturing, greater localization, greater exports? How do we ensure that, and what would be the next set of reforms that would be needed there?
So I think a lot has already been done, including the PLI scheme. I think it's a good beginning, because we firstly need to leverage the fact that India is a very large market, and then also leverage the fact that India can be a good source for the world. For manufacturing, I think two things are very important: the cost of doing business and the ease of doing business. I think a number of steps have been taken. What needs to be done is maybe greater alignment between the center, the state, and the local administration, because mostly at a policy level, a lot of things are done. But manufacturing is about day-to-day issues that you need to deal with. And the smaller the company is, the tougher it is to deal with some of these issues. The larger companies have the ability to deal with some of these issues. So I think we need to really make sure that both the cost and ease of doing business percolates at the lowest level. The second is, of course, to create an environment where we leverage the market opportunity in India. And I think that's happening. I see new areas like electronics manufacturing, etc., coming big in India. Thirdly, we need to do a lot more work on skills. Private sector itself needs to be more involved and engaged in paying for better skills. I think we pay for better education, but we need to do more to pay for better skills. And the skills ecosystem needs to get far more effective in some sense, and there's a social issue there as well. We need to give more respect to skills than we do traditionally as a country.
Right. You made an important point there, that all the policies that the central government is coming up with, the impact should be felt at the lowest level in every part of the country. Minister Gadkari, if I were to ask you about highway construction, you've set very ambitious targets for the government, for the NHAI as well. I was reading a recent quote, and you said that you would like highway construction to be 40 kilometers per day in FY23. Do you somewhere feel that despite attempts to have greater coordination with state governments, somewhere there is a hurdle when it comes to pushing forward targets like these, and something more can be done to ensure better implementation of government policies on ground?
Actually, highway construction, we need land. And the land acquisition is a subject under the state government. Then the judiciary, somewhere people are going to the court. There are some problems. And now, past experience, we have taken a decision that without getting 90% of the land in possession, we will not award the project. So this is one of the problems we are facing because there is a lot of delays that are there. But still we are pursuing the matter. With the cooperation of state government, we will be in position to acquire the land. The other problem is utility shifting. That is also the state government, municipal corporation. We need some cooperation from them. And the other is environment and forest clearance. Now for railway, if the railway is there, they don't need environment and forest clearance. But now in road, suppose our road width is 20 meter, and only the bitumen width is suppose one lane, 3.5 meter. The other is in our possession. But still the act says that we need to take the permission from the environment ministry, and sometime it creates a lot of complication and take years to year to get the permission for that. But presently our minister is very positive. They have taken a lot of decision. Then we have taken a good decision regarding Amrut Sarovar. We have already completed 36 Amrut Sarovar in Punjab Agriculture University in Akola. And we have in the total 370 Sarovar, Amrut Sarovar, we have completed. So that we are making dredging of nalas and rivers, and we are using that aggregate for road construction. It is a win-win situation for all the people. Second important thing, we are making 670 roadside amenities, out of which 75 works have already started. The third important is we are now making bus port, ropeway, cable car, funicular railway, and we have received already 165 proposals in the process, out of which already many of the projects have been sanctioned. But now we are thinking in a new direction for Bangalore, for Pune, for Mumbai, for Delhi, the sky bus, double-decker sky bus, that is public transport system on electricity, by using the different technology available in the world for mass rapid transport. So everywhere there is a problem, but we pursue the thing, we taking the review of the projects, and we clear the problems, and presently I feel that we will maintain that record.
Right. You spoke about sky buses, and I remember you used to be very, very passionate about seaplanes as well. Once we met you in Parliament, and this was, I think, when the government had just taken over, and you were very bullish about the potential of seaplanes. But just to ask you about sky buses, do you think that's a solution to some of the congested cities in India, like Bengaluru?
Actually, in Bangalore, we don't have land to acquire. We cannot increase the width of the road. Even in Pune also, there is a problem. It's very difficult to get the land. So that's the reason that we can take in the Philippines. The Doppelmayr has made the system very nicely. In the sky, the double-decker bus of having capacity of 200 people, that can be the solution. Right. So there are also a lot of technologies. Now, just from Dhaulakua to Manesar, we want to make it mass rapid transport. We are also searching for many technologies. So this can be the solution. First of all, it will not be appropriate because these people are related with the automobile industry. But we need to discourage the people to purchase more car. That is also a big problem. And they should use the mass rapid transport. Something they can use bus and other. We need to start trolley bus, air conditioned. I just suggest in Mumbai that you can start air conditioned trolley bus just like business class in aviation, and that the people can go with that bus. So somewhere we need to discourage one person using one car on the road. That is also a big problem. We cannot increase the width of the road, and that is the reason the traffic jam, the Bangalore, total problems are there. So this is the time that we need to have a good, comfortable mass rapid transport, by which we can give the good alternative and solution to the people that they cannot use their own car. That is exactly, we need to find out the way out for that.
Right. So some important words there. And infrastructure growth, good infrastructure, very important for the next phase of economic growth as well. Mr. Srinivasan, to get you in, you have been hearing everyone patiently. And I'm just...
Again, I will tell you one thing.
Yes, sir.
Because this is the example of Delhi. Here from going to Gurgaon, it's a so problem. 1,50,000 pieces is there. Now we are spending 30,000 crore making Dwarka Express Highway. By Dwarka Express Highway, we will complete up to the end of December. We are spending 10,000 crore on one bridge, 10 kilometer, 30 kilometer highway, and there will be two tunnels. One will come to Vasant Vihar, and other will come to go to T3. So the people coming from Rajasthan, they don't need to come by through Gurgaon. So that will reduce the traffic. So these are a lot of, just like bypass surgery, we are making a lot of things that how we can reduce the traffic, going to be where more congestion, more traffic jam, to how then we are making 2-tier, 3-tier bridges. In Chennai, we have taken decision from Chennai port to out of Chennai, we are making 3-layer bridge. Even in Nagpur, in my own constituency, we have just completed on the ground level 8-lane road, then 6-lane bridge, then metro. In Pune, we are now going to start the project, the 8-lane road, 6-lane bridge, again 6-lane bridge, and then metro. So some type of new innovative ideas we are trying to, but the problem is that the two things, the population growth and automobile growth is good for economy, good for industry, good for all the people, but same time pollution point of view and traffic jam point of view, it is to be really a big problem for the country. We need to find out some solution on that.
So the FADA and SIAM convention is going to take place this week, and you're telling the industry ki gaadiyan kam bikni chahiye.
But they can go on mass rapid transport.
Right.
They can make trolley bus, electric trolley bus. We don't need a lithium-ion battery.
Okay.
The cost of electric bus is 1 crore, 25, 30 lakhs, 40 lakhs.
Yeah.
And a trolley bus having capacity of 88, it can be of 50 to 60 lakhs.
Right. Thank you, sir. And I'm going to get in Mr. Srinivasan on that point. You spoke about Bengaluru earlier. We've seen massive floods in Bengaluru, highlighting the poor state of infrastructure. It is the IT hub of the country, and global investors are looking at it in a big way. Not just Bangalore, when you speak about the rest of the country, what kind of infrastructure growth, what kind of infrastructure interventions do you think we need to attract the next phase of investments into India?
I just want to, I'm very happy because I realize I have 2 EVs and I take the metro to the airport. So I think I'm checking 2 boxes which the minister has been suggesting. You know, when you talk about Bangalore, I think about startups. 25 years ago, the total AUM, the assets under management of venture capital private equity in India was 600 crores in 1997. It was about 25 years ago. Now, right now, it's about 800 times more. Right? That's been the growth. And all of this is fueling the growth of startups in India. Today, we're celebrating 100 plus unicorns, the world's 3rd largest startup economy. We're celebrating our SaaS, a software as a service economy, which is a soft infrastructure, going to nearly $10 billion from $3 billion in terms of total growth. We're celebrating the fact we have 3 million techies in India. India will become the tech infrastructure hub of the world. We're celebrating the fact that, I think as CEA said, the public digital infrastructure, by the way, the alphabet soup of public digital infrastructure starts with A for Aadhaar and ends with U for UPI, right? There are 15 types of public digital infrastructure, last count, and probably it has grown by 1 or 2 in the next 1 month, I don't know. At a time when we're celebrating nearly $60 billion of investment in venture capital and private equity in 70,000 startups, we can say 2 things for sure. One, India's startup ecosystem is not just a tribute to the talent of Indians, but is a tribute to the phenomenal work the government has done in the last 10 years in terms of creating Startup India, Stand Up India. When Modi ji said Startup India, Stand Up India in 2015, we could not imagine the kind of flood, not of water, but of innovation and growth that has taken place. After all, if 1/3 of India is poor, there is no point in spending time on them. If you want Sabka Vikas, require Sabka Prayas also. And from that point of view, the 2/3 of us who are in the startup economy, who are in the infrastructure economy, have to contribute to bringing up people up. While we celebrate these startups, $220 billion of VCP money have come to India. Can you imagine, from 600 crores? And exits have been fabulous. The average exit in India by private equity selling in venture capital has 3 times according to the recent venture intelligence report. If you invest 1 rupee, you're selling for 3 rupees. 5 lakh jobs have been created. Our heroes every day, like after cricket, the most celebrated feature in India is startup founders. Even Doordarshan has a wonderful TV. I was part of it, speaking in Hindi, which I think was not a good thing on my part, on founders for India. How should founders grow their business? But one thing puzzles me, Parikshit, and that is 90% of the profits of investing in these startups are exported. 90%. So if we've had $220 billion come in, $200 billion has been dollar money. Now, all of you have seen recently in the last 5-6 quarters, CEA probably more than others, that when the foreign investors left the public market of 2.5 lakh crore in one time, Indians put 2.3 lakh crore of money, Indian investors. FM cited that in Parliament, saying Indian retail investors have saved the stock market. But why is it that we celebrate our startups, we celebrate our startup founders, we celebrate our tech prowess, but we don't want to put Indian money behind them? That to me is a mystery, right? We say they are our heroes, but we don't want to give them our zeros of money, right? So I think that is something I feel is a big, and I'm using the word infrastructure to get now into financial infrastructure.
Right.
We have nearly 100 lakh crores of funds between the pension, EPFO, etc., and the insurance pools in this country. Even if 10%, which is the vision of the government, was streamlined and put into venture capital and private equity, that 10 lakh crore would become 30 lakh crore. And the Indian pensioner would get better yields now, rather than 8 to 10%, would get 14% as per SEBI. So we need to make sure the startup economy grows and Indian funds are there to power it. It's just like our retail investors make money from the public market success of, say, a Tata Steel, which has been a great stock in the last few years. We need to make sure that from the private pool, and private pools, Parikshit, have become 10% of the GDP of the world. 11 trillion is a total private capital. In India, it is not even 2%. We need to solve this problem, and I'm so delighted Madam FM was here. Yeah. She has announced a high-level committee on Monday, led by Mr. Damodaran and with other eminent experts, to study end-to-end all the issues of the venture capital and private equity industry. She announced it in the budget. And she's now announced it on Monday. The committee is going to start. So we hope that all the frictional issues around tax and how to get pension money to venture funds and so on will get sorted out. So I actually think that infrastructure is where my mind is.
That you're focusing on more. You have been speaking a lot about greater participation of domestic capital into the startup ecosystem. How can we ensure that?
I think the intent is there. But we must understand that private capital, which is this large pool, has to be very safely taken from something like pension. Pension is people's blood, sweat and tears. It has to be very safely put into the hands of fund managers. So we have been working with the government, and the government has been extremely receptive to create a blended fund of funds. These are funds of funds where professional managers will actually be able to select good fund managers with a track record, with a good capability of the past, with a good talent in their pool, and allocate money carefully. India has done this so well. Gadkari ji's stories were I was so thrilled listening to everything that he said. But I'm equally thrilled by one more thing. When Modi ji started the Fund of Funds for Startup in 2016, SIDBI, an old public sector manager, was given the responsibility to take government's own money from the rural infrastructure, from the government's own money, and give it to 87 different VC funds. They have done that so successfully that the 2,000 crores or 3,000 crores that they have put of the 7,000 committed has become 30,000 crores by multiplier effect of others investing. And all these monies have given to Indian startups. So we have well-proven models. Similarly, the pension money can go there. Insurance is already investing. We have a great new insurance regulator chairman who wants to make sure more and more investments from insurance companies come to VC funds, because the insurance pools need it. They need to make sure the insurance companies are profitable if the insurance companies are going to grow. We need pensioners to get better returns, and therefore we can do it by making India strong. So this committee, I think, is studying these issues. There are also issues around taxation. It's very odd. You invest in the public market, you get a concession on your long-term tax. You take huge risk and put money in the private market, you get double the tax. I don't think this is the intent of the government. This is all legacy. And this legacy, this government has dismantled not only legacy, but has also made history. I'm sure this will also get changed in the future. These are all the past being unburdened. So I think the issues are well known on taxation, on getting pension and insurance money into the venture capital funds, and also at the same time making sure that the issues faced by startups, which are being sorted out rapidly, continue to get sorted out. The main point I think which has helped India a lot in addition to public digital infrastructure is the Reserve Bank of India's policy. India is one of the few countries in the world where the Reserve Bank actually has designed the fintech marketplace rather than let market alone design and then react. This, I think, is going to be a change. There's the reason why you have UPI going to 1 billion transactions a day, maybe in next 5 years, and you have right now Open, which is coming, ONDC, which is coming, which is going to make sure the Kirana shops become part of the e-commerce system. So I think that is another very big positive. So positives are many. We just need a few frictional points to be sorted out. I just think I'm not at all worried about whether India will retain the tag. I just want to sit and see how can we participate in this journey, and also how can we enjoy watching all the Indians who are not franchised become free.
Right. Mr. Nageshwaran, what do you think about what Mr. Srinivasan said? How can we remove some of these friction points?
No, I think in the area that he's interested in, the friction points are being addressed. In fact, the bigger friction point is to make sure that, as the Honorable Minister pointed out, that our small and medium enterprises need to be brought into the formal system. And for that, some of the onerous regulations and intrusive inspection and compliance that they face at the ground level, those have to be removed. And this is not just a union government endeavor, but local government and state government endeavor. So the union government, for example, is decriminalizing many statutes, removing them from the statute books, and also continuing to work on making sure that many of the approval processes are automated, so on. But where they are still intrusive is at the level of the provincial governments and local governments. So when we talk of, I have been saying it repeatedly, it's one thing to divest from LIC, the corporation, but it is another thing to divest from LIC, the ecosystem, licensing, inspection, and compliance. That need to happen on a war footing, and that will be the key to growth, because we still lack what we call the middle manufacturing. We have few large successful enterprises, we have millions of micro and small enterprises. We need a middle India. And the answer to your earlier question about the reform that we need to do, it's just to keep plugging away in dismantling the licensing, inspection, and compliance. And that will be the most important friction point to be addressed. If capital has to flow to manufacturing, and our manufacturing share of GDP has to go up, we need to work consistently and tirelessly in removing the very many friction points for small and medium enterprises.
Right. Mr. Narendran, exports are very critical to India's growth story, considering we have a very high import bill for crude. And this is what the Commerce Secretary has also pointed out, that we have no choice but to continuously push our exports. So there is a PLI scheme to make us more competitive. There are schemes to promote the exports as well. What more can be done in order to make sure there are greater exports from the steel sector?
I think that's a touchy question, right? Just now, there's export duty on steel.
We can make it a large
Gadkari
industry
has a strong
question
view on it, so I don't want to have a debate on that. But having said that, I think leave steel out of it. I think largely, yes, we certainly need to be a big exporter. Even if I take steel, for instance, my point is, who are the biggest steel exporting countries in the world? China, Japan, Korea. None of them have iron ore. We have iron ore in some of the poorest parts of the country, right? So why can't we encourage more mining, more steel production, and more exports? Between these three countries, they export 150 million tons of steel. India produces 110 million tons of steel, right? So when we have a 300 million ton goal for making steel, we should have a 100 million ton goal for exporting steel. So, so similarly, each industry, which is naturally competitive, needs to have a goal. And I think $400 billion of exports is just the beginning. I think we are chasing 1 trillion. But the starting point for that is infrastructure. And I think the minister talked about that, because one of the reasons why services exports has been strong, or the IT sector, because you had the telecom infrastructure. You were not dependent on Indian ports, Indian roads, Indian railways to export this. For manufactured goods, you depend on logistics. So investing in infrastructure is very important. And time costs money. If ships have to wait for 15 days to dock at a port and you take 10 days to load the ship, In places like Dubai, it happens in 24 hours, right? Ships come and go. So I think there's a lot that we need to do, which we are doing. The other subject which the ministers talked about in the past is waterways. If you see, a lot of movement in China happens on waterways. So that also adds to export competitiveness. Because while the road infrastructure is important, it is the most expensive way of moving goods. Railways is cheaper than roads. Waterways and seaways is cheaper than railways. So if you really look at that, you need to invest across multimodal transport, look at the time that it takes to move stuff across a country and out of the country. The documentation using blockchain, you can do a lot of work on documentation so that it can be paperless and can move efficiently. Because I think inside the factory gates, Indian industry is world class. Sometimes that competitiveness is diluted outside the factory gates. And that's where the cost of doing business becomes very important, because I think Indian industry is entrepreneurial, is world class in many ways, can be competitive, and we just need that, all those ingredients to fall in place. I think they are falling in place, and I'm very bullish about the prospects. And the other thing which is helping us now is, of course, everyone looking at building resilience into supply chains, and hence having an option of more than one. And it's India's moment from that point of view. And I think more and more industries, global corporations are looking at investing in India for that reason.
That's a very important point. And Minister Gadkari, I'd like to ask you about this point about resilient supply chains. You interact a lot with the automotive industry, and they were among the key sectors badly hit by the supply disruptions during the pandemic. Shortage of components, shortage of semiconductors. What more can India do in order to have resilience in supply chains, make sure that manufacturing, which may move out of China, or companies which may want a China plus one strategy, would come to India? Currently, we are seeing a slowdown in China. But how do we ensure that we are able to cash in on this opportunity, which definitely exists? Everyone is saying this is India's decade, India's century. But how do we make sure we cash in for the future?
Actually, we have a lot of strength. One of the important strengths for India is the young, talented engineering manpower which is available in the country. That is to be the biggest strength for us. Second important thing is now the investor from abroad particularly, they are more interested to invest in India as compared with other countries. That is also the feeling of the people. The most important thing where we are facing some problem, we need to develop good infrastructure, and we are on the path. We are trying our level best to develop the infrastructure. And what Mr. Narendran was adding, it's very important. Now our first priority is going by waterways, second priority is going by railway, and third priority was going by road, and fourth is aviation. Now for example, going by road, the cost is 10 rupees. Going by railway is 6 rupees, and going by waterways is 1 rupees. And in waterways, if we can use methanol as a fuel, which Assam Petroleum is manufacturing, a lot of people are making it. At the time when I was shipping minister, I have given one proposal to Tata also from Jamshedpur. And now already the waterways from Varanasi to Haldia is completed. Then Haldia, there is Bengal Sea is there. Then in Brahmaputra, at my time, we have completed dredging in Brahmaputra. Then completed dredging in Barak River. And even at that time, with the request of Prime Minister of Bangladesh, I taken Brahmaputra going up to 250 kilometers in Bangladesh and making dredging up to Mungli port. So today, because of seafront and this river, now we need cooperation from the investors. What is to be the big problem now? In the major ports, we have traffic jam, even more than roads. And the containers owners in India, we don't have the company which own the containers. The problem is that the Indian flagship company for shipping, they are not in good shape. And at the same time, the foreign flag companies, they are increasing their rate 2 times, 3 times. So in our export, we are facing logistic cost. So you are absolutely correct that this is time for the country that we have to increase more export. Without that, we cannot make our economy strong. But at the same time, in an integrated approach, by giving water, power, transport and communication, we need to reduce the logistic cost. And regarding this container, and because I was Minister of Port and Shipping, I know this is a problem. So we have to develop new ports, we have to develop containers, because the rate of the container is now 2 times, 3 times more. And even the rate from Mumbai to Dubai is 3 times more. Taking it to everywhere, the rate is so high, and that is to be a big challenge for our industry, manufacturing sector. Somewhere in India, we can use multimodal logistic, that we can use waterways, sea transport. Somewhere we have to reduce the cost of transport regarding railway is concerned. And at the same time, we have to use some alternative fuel on the road, like LNG, by which we can reduce the cost. And by all the way, at any cost, we need to have more competent as far as the international market is concerned. So exactly these are the problems, but still, I feel that our manufacturers are doing excellent jobs. And because of the competition, also we are expecting that the rate will be reduced and we will be in position to export more for the country.
And a couple of cabinet decisions which have been taken recently. One, of course, revision of the railway land lease fee policy. Also, we're expecting a new logistics policy to be announced very soon. Do you think all of these steps will further help?
And we are making multimodal logistic park in Assam, Jogigopa. In my own ministry, we are making already the logistic park of 2 lakh crores. I have prepared a good proposal for Delhi. On the peripheral road, all wholesale market, container depots, because this peripheral road, 8 spots are there where railway is connecting to the road. So on the basis of that, we will take all wholesale markets, godowns, pre-cooling plant, cold storage, fruit processing markets, electronic markets out of Delhi. That will reduce the pollution in Delhi. Everywhere in Bangalore that there is a problem. So 3 days, 4 days before I was in Bangalore, so I discussed the issue with the Chief Minister. We are planning for that. Everywhere lot of potential is there. And that is very important as far as the futuristic economy is concerned.
Right.
And I feel that we need public-private investment for that. And that innovative approach of public-private investment will be more helpful for resolving all these issues.
Okay. Mr. Gadkari, I'm going to take final set of comments from all our panelists and then we'll request you to sum up this discussion. And let's focus in this last phase. And again, it's a very important issue and very important for India's growth as well, and that is digitization. I'll start with Mr. Srinivasan. When it comes to digital payments, we've seen robust growth in digital payments during the pandemic. How do we leverage this further? How integral will this be to India's economic growth over the next 7 to 8 years?
Parikshit, I look at the fact that 0.8% of the employment in India is producing 8% of the GDP in the digital area. It's a very, very important number. We've developed, as we were discussing, 15 types of public digital infrastructure. I want to touch upon 3 of them very quickly. ONDC, which will bring a lot of the nano and micro. In the MSME sector, we should actually separate nano and micro separate from the SME, because these are people with different kinds of business. Nearly 1 crore kirana shops, restaurants can come into the ONDC framework and become an active part of the e-commerce. Similarly, the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission is another big piece of digital infrastructure that's coming up, which can connect millions of Indians. And lastly, I think we are underestimating the power yet to be unleashed of the rural digital stack. India is still in the development phase of a rural digital stack. So farmer financing or cash flow based financing to smaller businesses can take place through those kind of stacks. So I think the digital infrastructure is a big opportunity, and that can be leveraged by India, and all this wonderful infrastructure that Gadkari ji is building will come up and catch up, and that will be an amazing jugalbandi. Can you imagine the kind of physical infrastructure he's talking about and the kind of digital infrastructure, public digital infrastructure India is creating with the startup ecosystem and domestic funding? It's going to be a wonderful 4 pillars to see the India of the future on.
Right. Mr. Nageshwaran, to ask you about standards. Today, the world is looking to India to see what kind of standards come in when it comes to use of data. what would be the regulations when it comes to cross-border flows of data? How important is it to have clarity, a legal ecosystem in place very soon?
I mean, obviously, it's quite important pillar of ensuring that data flows not only across sectors within the country, but also across borders. So you have to have a very robust data protection architecture, and the sooner we have it, it's only going to make the contribution of the digital economy to overall economic growth that much more important and contributing. So I think this is, with this gap, if it persists, then obviously it will create a bottleneck in terms of realizing the potential of digital economy. So data security, data privacy will be the key to making them interoperable within borders and across borders.
One more question which has been coming from the audience, and we should put this to you. Is there pain or gain from defending the rupee?
No, I think India isn't defending the rupee. India is just making sure that the market forces and the economic fundamentals direct the rupee in a particular direction, and making sure that it is happening smoothly and gradually. India is neither defending, and I don't think Indian fundamentals are such that we need to defend the rupee. The rupee can take care of itself.
Right. Mr. Narendran, we've spoken a lot about what the government is doing, what more can be done, but from the industry side, when we look at the consumption potential and the potential of the Indian economy, what will be the focus of the Tata Group or a company like Tata Steel when it comes to digitization? Other key priorities for you for the next 10 years?
Yeah. So I think obviously at a broader level, the focus on infrastructure, I think, has a big multiplier effect for industry, and industry will invest to support this infrastructure growth of the government. From a digital point of view, I think it's a huge opportunity. You know, as we develop, as we become a 5 trillion economy and bigger, we have a great opportunity to have a greener and smarter manufacturing industry. So we don't need to clean up like many other countries are having to clean up, because you can build smart, build green. And India has the tech talent, India has entrepreneurial spirit, and India has a manufacturing capability. I think we can bring it all together and really create world-class manufacturing systems. More specifically, as an example, Tata Steel has 2 plants recognized by the World Economic Forum as digital lighthouses. One is our oldest plant in Jamshedpur, which is 115 years old, and one is our newest plant, which is 5 years old. So it can happen for big old companies as well as much as for the small new companies.
Right. Minister Gadkari, we'd like you to sum up, leave us with your thoughts that in the next 10 years, as we look at the spate of reforms which have happened, there will be more in the pipeline as well. How will we ensure inclusive growth, job creation, and growth for those at the bottom of the pyramid as well? Something that the Prime Minister has also been speaking about.
First of all, I will tell you about the digital infrastructure. In NHI, because of fast track, we have benefited increase our total income by 15,000 crore per year. And now we are going to launch automobile number plate technology by which there will be no toll naka. So 100% even in RTO system, as a transport minister, the 40 services now available to your house, you can take the advantage of it. You don't need to go to RTO office. So this is very important for the country. The Prime Minister's dream is to make Indian economy of $5 trillion. And Atmanirbhar Bharat is the most important concept. And for that reason, we need to increase productivity. We need more export. For that reason, the Prime Minister is giving a good message. Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. And now it is Jai Vigyan ke saath Jai Anusandhan. What I am telling to the people that the innovation, entrepreneurship, science, technology, research, skilled and successful practices, we name it as knowledge. And futuristic point of view, conversion of knowledge into wealth is the future for the country. So we should give highest priority for research and development. And the other philosophy which always I like it, that no one is West, no material is West. It is depending upon the appropriate technology. It is depending upon the appropriate vision that you can convert West into wealth. So even we can make the West economy, solid waste and liquid waste management economy of 5 lakh crore. I have just successfully implemented one project in Mathura, 80 MLD sludge in hybrid annuity. The water is taken by Indian Oil giving 20 crore rupees every year. So everywhere there is a possibility that you can convert waste into wealth with the good technology and going for green hydrogen. So my suggestion is for the futuristic economy, this is the time for the country that we are the fastest growing economy. Our future is very bright. The young, talented engineering manpower is the strength for the country. Availability of the raw material, power, transport, and everything is there. And the choice of the people in the world is India. So we should take the advantage of all this opportunity and to make Indian economy the number one world economy. That is exactly we can do it with the cooperation, coordination, and communication between the all stakeholders, and we can fulfill the dream of our Honorable Prime Minister. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Gadkari, for telling us about your vision, what you've been doing at the Road Transport Ministry, the Shipping Ministry, previously what the Indian government is doing in terms of ease of manufacturing, ease of business. And India clearly is considered as a reliable partner by the world today amid these geopolitical tensions, and that also will work in its favor in the days to come. Mr. Srinivasan, Mr. Narendran, Mr. Nageshwaran, thank you very much for joining us on this panel today.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's a humble request to please stay on stage. I would request Mr. Munjal to kindly grace the stage and present a memento, a token of gratitude from our side.
Anand.